Hey guys, I want to talk to you about a very cool subject today. And this subject is about being addictive to your struggle. Now, I want you to be very open-minded about this and be very truthful to yourself because I've noticed that I've done this in the past. We all can fall for the trap of buying into and enjoying even sometimes our struggle to succeed. Now, this could be in the context of wanting to be free of an issue or to achieve a certain goal in your life. However, sometimes in our mind, we begin to think that the addiction to our struggle seems quite empowering. And we've all probably been there from one time to another. As I said, I've been there. I remember, in fact, I used to make a joke out of it. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and I was really struggling in a sense of trying to make my business grow. In fact, I'll tell you a cool story. My desk in my spare room was stacked up full of boxes, and on top of that was a broken door. So I had my door as my desk. So I was going through a time of really working hard and really going for it. And we had this running joke together. It's like, oh, it's just going to be another chapter in the biography. You know that time when I had that desk, or I had the door as a desk? That was one of those times where we were struggling and we were going for it and we were just really going for that goal. But I noticed that I began to enjoy that struggle. I used to buy into that I must struggle to succeed, or it would be a good thing to have in my life, that period of my life when I was struggling to achieve that goal. It would be a great metaphor one day, maybe. It would be a great story to teach people. In fact, I'm using it now, so it had its purpose. However, I began to buy into it too much, and I became a little bit addictive to that struggle. I became a little bit from that scarcity mindset that this is the process that I go through. And that addiction to the struggle, the addiction to the story of my life, began to be a part of the process. So let's put it in the context of being addicted to your story. And as I said, I might be pushing some buttons here, so be very open-minded. Consider this. As you think about an issue or a problem in your life, are you addicted to your story? Are you addicted to that story in some way? And I'm not just saying consciously. It may be an unconscious process, but we've got to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes do we think of that problem and kind of get comfort from keeping it? Because when you think about it, it allows us a level of comfort when we're just thinking about that issue. Well, I can't achieve my goal because I have low confidence. I'd really go for that job, but my anxiety keeps me back. So we begin to buy into the labels that we have. We begin to consider that that struggle is a part of our identity or who we are as a person. And because of that, our perception of the opportunities around us begin to change. In fact, they begin to limit us as a person. So as we buy into that struggle or that chapter of our life where we are struggling when it comes to our goal, or even into your story, the story of a problem that you may have, because we all know this in other people, by the way. I mean, do you have a friend or have you known someone who always considers that if it's going to happen to them, they're the person it's going to happen to? So they'll say, well, I just knew it was going to happen. I knew if it's going to happen, it's going to happen to me. And it's like they buy into that personality, that things happen to them. So if something's going to happen, they're the person who does it because they attract it in their life. It becomes a part of their perception. If that was no longer a part of their life, they will feel a sense of loss, a loss of meaning, a loss of identity. So you've got to be very, very true to yourself right here and right now. As you consider maybe an issue in your mind or maybe a goal that you've been working for, are you buying into your story? And by buying, I mean, are you allowing that story to disable you when it comes to achieving your goal? Are you enjoying a certain level of struggle? Is the issue that you're having in your life actually giving you some value? I mean, let me put another context for you. Imagine that someone has manic depression. I'm not saying, if, say, for example, you have manic depression, I'm not saying this is you just like that, but just consider this as an analogy. Someone who may have depression may not be able to work because of that psychological issue. And we can see why that would be the case. I mean, it's a horrible issue. I've been depressed, I've been anxious, so I fully resonate with that. But let's consider the story a little bit further. That person is no longer able to work, so they get some form of welfare from the state or from the government. Quite rightly so, because they just can't deal with life right now, or dealing with a job because it's too stressful to them. Maybe their partner or maybe their friends begin to look out for them, and as soon as there's a bit of stress in their life, they'll pick up the phone to that person who's depressed to support them. Maybe people will do things for that person. Now, after a period of time, although maybe not conscious, that person will begin to get some value from maybe keeping the issue, because now they don't have to work, because they're getting money to just live. As I said, I'm being very honest here, and I want you to be honest as you consider your issue. I'm not saying you do this consciously, but in some way the brain can begin to learn and to get satisfaction by keeping the issue. We call it like a secondary gain, where by keeping the issue, they're getting a form of gain from it. And that's something you've got to be very clear of. So when you consider your goal and you consider your struggle, are you getting value from that struggle? Are you getting some form of gain which is keeping you where you are? Maybe you're self-sabotaging yourself because you're getting a gain from keeping the issue. Another example would be, I know I've worked with many people who have panic attacks or migraines, and they usually happen under stress naturally. So that person with a migraine, it tends to happen where maybe in the workplace, for example, lots of stress, so their body gives the symptoms of the migraine, which causes them to get outside of that situation. So the intention there, or the secondary gain, is I can get out of that situation by this signal. Not conscious, but the unconscious mind begins to learn the law of least effort. And if that law of least effort is just to get you out of that situation or self-sabotage in some way, it's going to do it because it thinks it's doing a good job. So every issue we have has a positive intention. And I explained that very well in my previous video, which is called Intention, Connection, Transformation. So be sure to watch that as well, because this is very similar to it. So let's just consider that that person may be getting a gain by keeping the issue. And sometimes we can even consciously buy into that form of struggle, as I personally did when I was younger. I thought that that struggle was a part of a chapter of my life I could speak about one day. But I began to buy into it so much, I expected struggle. I expected scarcity. I expected people to maybe fail on me, or for myself to personally fail, because I knew that was part of a struggle. Failure in some level will make me stronger as a person. It will cause me to write about it in a book one day. So intentionally it was a good thing, but I began to buy into it too much. And then I had that awakening moment that I was thinking that that struggle was a part of my process of success. Now that does not have to be the case. You do not have to struggle to be successful. You do not have to go through fear, anxiety, and worry to be successful. You can make changes without it. But it's also about the conscious mind here. There's where the honesty comes in. You have to affirm to yourself even, that I am no longer going to buy into my struggle. I'm going to take complete responsibility for my life and do whatever it takes. I'm going to affirm that every day, that I'm no longer going to buy into my story of how I am like I am. Rather being an effect of life, I am going to take responsibility. Because when I brought into my struggle, I would think about that in my mind. I would create these amazing movies of how I struggled and then I succeeded. And it began to be a process or a suggestion, an evaluation to my unconscious mind that that should happen. So when we have those thoughts, they become evaluations to our mind and body, and therefore we begin to look out for more struggle. So now you've got to take responsibility for where you are. You've got to take complete responsibility to no longer buy into your story or your struggle. You've got to take responsibility that now is the time that you are going to make changes and you are going to thrive right now in every way. And as soon as you have that thought of struggle or I can't do this because I have this issue, you have to consciously command yourself that that is no longer an evaluation. That is no longer an expectation in my mind. And I'm going to expect different results. Because when you start to do this over a period of time, this will become the new strategy for you. As soon as that struggle comes up, you begin to look for something else. You begin to go exactly where you want to in the future. So no longer buy into your struggle. Set your evaluations far higher and in the positive, because your mind or your focus in your mind will dictate your results. So rather focusing on struggle, begin to focus on abundance. Begin to focus on challenging or maybe challenges, but do it in a way which empowers you, which you no longer buy into society's expectations or other people's expectations in your life, or even those past expectations when it comes to buying into your struggle or the story of you. Because I remember I used to think of myself as a blusher. That is who I am. I am a blusher, or I am depressed. That was not my identity in reality though. I was just buying into that struggle. And it actually held me back. It limited me. So this is your conscious honesty time. You have to really stand up and go, hey, now is the time I'm going to be free of my struggle. I'm going to break free of my struggle. I understand that what I was trying to do, but now I'm going to empower myself and do something else. I'm going to put my attention and intention as to where I'm heading and refuse to buy into anything less even, because I know that this will become the evaluation to my unconscious mind. And from now on, I'm going to communicate powerfully to my body. I'm going to harness my body, and it's going to respond to the new direction that I'm heading. So once again, I'm not saying this is exactly what you do, but I want you to be conscious of this idea. These are all the things I say in my videos. These are ideas and usually the things which are happening or have happened in my life. And that was a great awakening process for me, because rather buying into my struggle and expecting more struggle, I began to expect something else, something more, far more valuable. And it actually caused me to get my results quicker, because my perception of my future began to change. Because that focus was no longer looking for my story or looking for limitation or looking for my struggle. It was looking for opportunities. And then those opportunities began to appear in my mind, because there's a part in our brain called the reticular activating system, very much like when you decide on buying a new car, you begin to see it everywhere. You decide, or you learn a new word, you see that word popping up everywhere. Now those things were always there, but they were outside of your conscious awareness, because maybe you were looking for the struggle or looking for buying into a limitation. But now when you start to allow your evaluations and your suggestions to be on success, that part of the brain will begin to look for more of it, and therefore it's serving you in the right way. So be clear on this. Stand up for yourself and really allow yourself to command yourself that I am going to take responsibility for my life. I'm not going to buy into that old struggle. I am going to be abundant, and I'm going to thrive off every challenge. I'm going to learn from every event. And that will cause you to be far more successful, far more quickly in every way. That is very small in its idea of buying into our struggle, but so profound in the results that you get when you begin to train up your mind. So as soon as that struggle, or you're thinking about buying into your struggle, your story, say no. That is not who I am. That is a past behavior I picked up, and now I'm generating this new behavior. As you do that, your unconscious mind will set up new pathways. And finally, I will leave you with this metaphor. Imagine an overgrown garden. And in this overgrown garden, there's an idea that if you were to walk down one root of that overgrown garden for a period of time, what would happen? What would really happen there? Well, what's going to happen there is you're going to begin to tread down a pathway. You're going to tread down a pathway, and it's going to become easier and easier to think that, or to walk down that way. Now let's translate that overgrown garden as your brain. And that continuous pass forward of the struggle was so easy to buy into. It was so well trodden down that it was simple to think that way. But as soon as you start to have this new thought and you begin to consciously focus on where you're heading in the positive, we begin to go down a new route of that garden of your brain. And that will become the new pathway. That will become the new way of being. But you are the walker. You're the person who has to tread down that path. Now, naturally, my hypnosis audios are going to be very valuable for that because that's communicating with your unconscious mind. But say you don't want to invest in that, or you don't want to do that side of things. This is something you can do all the time. It all starts here with your thoughts. So go ahead and intend to buy into success, buy into wholeness, buy into peace, buy into who you are, which is someone who is love, who is powerful and courageous in every way, rather buying into your story, because your story is not you. And if it was you, you can begin to create a new story to live by, because that is the truth. You are in control. So rather being a product of your story, you allow your new thoughts to be the new destination as to where you're heading. I think you're going to really enjoy setting this up as a new strategy, and you will see transformational results very quickly if you do this in a habitual way, just teaching your unconscious mind that there's a new way, there's a new pathway we're heading down now, and that is one where I'm buying into my success, I'm buying into my potential. So I hope you enjoy that. If you enjoy my work, please go ahead and like, subscribe to my YouTube videos. Or if you're listening to this on my free hypnosis apps, which are coming out on BlackBerry, Windows 8 in the next couple of weeks or next week, and also on the Android app, that's coming out in the next week as well. And if you're listening to this on my iPhone app and iPod app, go ahead and write a review. The more reviews I get, it means more people will listen to my free work, and that will cause me and allow me to produce more audios, more videos. And my intention is to do more and more. It's one of those things, I just love helping people, and if you find this of value to you, I'm more than happy to do it. And those reviews, those recommendations to people, so we get more installs, and I can tell by my stats on the installs, on how much bandwidth all this free stuff is taking, how much this is going to grow. And that gives me an idea that people are enjoying my work and I can do more of it. I can invest more of my work time into producing these. So have a wonderful day, and I look forward to speaking to you very, very soon. Many thanks and goodbye.